Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now I start like it is a show or entertainment. Uh, well, you may consider it that way. Um, Tonight the story of Moon and Mary. Moon is the name given to fastfabulist seastarpenguin um, by other people. Other people call him Moon, and he got this adoptive daughter. One could say it is an imaginary daughter, even, or one could say it is an apprentice, and he calls her Little Empress. Little because she is like uh, a penguin, midget size, and she is M. Actually, her name is Mary, but he wants it to be just a capital, so capital M, and she is on the net, and well, that's why he calls her press, and altogether then it's like an empress. uh, some might say it is a princess, but Moon calls her Empress, Little Empress, Little Empress. And well, people. So Moon is teaching this young woman, and people, of course, are curious what he is teaching her, and I will tell this, but first there is something else, because then he is Moon, and Moon is also capital M. Then you get M&M, and M&M, of course, is candy. So when they were together, people said that's Moon, that's Mary, and that's together they are M&M. They are sweet candy. And there is also the rapper, not a Queen from Bohemian Rhapsody, but the rapper Eminem. And maybe I pronounce it wrong, but Eminem always made me think about the sweet candy, M&M. And wow, Eminem also a kind of person like Moon. Of course, he got his fans, and they are listening to his stories. But Moon's story, of course, is different from Eminem's. Eminem, well, about different from his story. This is then the story that Moon was telling to Mary. He told her there was the devil. He told her there was no God, but there was a devil. And this theory was based on tarot cards. And the tarot cards he knew all about, and he had a friend that was the tortoise, not the sea turtle, which is he calls it the laptop sea turtle. No, it is the tortoise on the land. But then it is not actually the tortoise who is a smith, and the one who was in the past making shields, like a tortoise has a shield, and not like the solar roof tiles, the modern tortoise. Maybe it would be better to say this tortoise is actually a pond turtle, and he is the tortoise in the fresh water with the pond snail, so in the pond snail house, and he has the tarot cards. And it is these cards that made Moon say, there is no God. There is no God. But there is a devil. And they work together a lot because Moon is, of course, the fabulist, the fast fabulist, but the pond turtle is he was a big influence in the beginning, just like the diving bell spider of astrology, who had also before Moon started the fabulism. He spent a lot of time with the diving bell spider on astrology, but later he found out about the pond turtle of tarot, and then he made connections between the pond turtle tarot and the diving bell spider astrology, and then he knew it was all simple, because there was then the seastarpenguin who just had to be. He did not need the calculations, and he did not need the tarot cards. He simply could be the seastarpenguin, and he was then telling these fables. So, and both the tarot cards and the astrologer, they know in their system, in their way of thinking, this is true, and actually it will lead their way of thinking will lead to fast fabulism. But there was of course the loss of God, but he knew already that in tarot there was no God, but there was the devil. And the question was then, of course, still how to defeat the devil, and who is then the devil. And Moon has a very clear description of the devil. Moon is saying the devil is Queen Bee. Queen Bee is the devil. Everybody knows about Queen Bee, and actually it is Bumble Queen Bee he is talking about. And there are two versions, but at first there is of course Bumblebee Queen Honey. All she has divided all the people in workers and drones, and so she herself is then one could say bisexual, or some would say she is just a queen and she is very feminine. But Moon calls her the devil. That is the devil. And it is actually no queen, because he is calling his apprentice, the penguin chick, he is calling his apprentice the empress, the little empress. So here you see the big difference. When they are talking about Queen Bee, then he will say, no, that is a mistake. That thing is the devil. And the devil is actually important to focus on. It is not that sometimes Moon is saying his opponent is the killer polar bear. That is the opponent. But in other times he is saying the devil is the opponent, and that is the one who needs to be defeated, and that is Bumble Queen Bee. Some might say then this is confusing, but if you know then the honey is going to the bear, and that is the connection between them, and there is the bear who accepts then fastfabulism and Moon, and that is the one who is hibernating and dreaming on the kids of the future. The polar bear is the one who can't get no sleep and is trapped in the war, and he has no future, and he actually is eating then the future and the children. That is the killer polar bear. And now it is possible also with the queen, the bumblebee queen, that she will start killing. And if she does, then she will be killed. And it is true that there are queens, bumble queen bees, yeah, that kill other queens. So they just take over another beehive and they kill the other queen. That is the queen who will, and the honey who will fall under the polar bear. And in this situation, then it is actually the polar bear then who is a bigger devil, because then the whole, honey, but one could also say the bank and the money on the bank is in the hands of the polar bear. If this is not the case, then the honey is under control of the bumblebee queen, who is like the hibernating bear, hibernating. and she will she will not kill, and she will not be killed. And of course, she has a lot of power, and she is someone to she has a lot of power and a lot of influence. And Moon calls her the devil, but that doesn't mean if it is the devil, it is not a person who has no influence. No, it is a person who has a lot of influence, and her power is that she has the bank. Some will say, but I don't get it. Well, she has the honey, but the honey is the money, and she has a bank, and she has a lot of more because she has a bank. Another thing that she has is the pin codes of sea urchin. Some will say sea urchin, that is soccer ball, and that it is too, but on a higher level it is all about money. It is a game, but it became something so it's all about money, and it's actually a war, and it is also uh, dividing the world in nations, because it is supporting the idea of nations, because there would be no soccer games and these things when there wouldn't be nations. This is not absolutely true. One could imagine an empire with different towns, and then the games could be played inside the empire between different towns. So this is not, but then again, the differences in the empire between the towns would not, would maybe not become that big, and then there would be no uh, extra pressure on these games, because it is then again like a war of opposing people. But when there is more the idea of an empire and similar towns, similar, then the pressure or the behind the game will become less. So soccer ball and the sea urchin pin codes, and there is also then in the town itself, in all these different towns of the Queen, there is a mayor, and the mayor has then these pin codes of the bank where the honey is, and he also has the keys of all the houses, which then could be compared to the keys of a safe in the bank. That is, of course, the same thing. And here she has then actually, in the end, a lot of power. She has the honey, and so she has the bank, and that is uh, a lot of power. And if you go a step further, then there is the well, you have people then who can the money divides everything. Everybody needs that money, everybody. And then, of course, there is the possibility that one steals money, that one breaks into houses, steal property, and then, of course, there is the uh, possibility that one get caught and then one has to be locked away from the society of the queen and locked away. And then there is also the keys, and she is the one who controls the honey, and if you take the honey not in the and you steal it, then you will get locked away. So the money is locked up in safes, and but there is also the possibility to get locked up because you were breaking into that safe. So there is and that is not it is not only possible that because you were breaking in or stealing, or even worse, it can also become that is the future, and that is today going on, that you the queen finds out you are, well, let's say then, um, well, you don't behave like a regular drone, or you are not enough drone to her. See? And then there is this new thing that you can be locked away because she doesn't like the way, well, you talk or the way you behave. And so, if you know about this, then you will understand that the devil has a lot of power, and the sea otter of sea urchin pin codes and the keys, which can break the oyster locks, and the beds, because in the end it is a door with a lock, and you will not be sleeping safe without having then this key and lock. And so it is possible they break in and wake you up. So she has, and this is the sea otter, and the possibility to lock you away is a orca. That is the big fish, the orca. Then you are inside the orca. But the orca can also, well, there can be this extra element of the jelly, and then you get not only locked away but also paralyzed or infected with viruses that will bring you down. That is the idea of Shutter Island in the movie, or the insane asylum. And all these things, of course, she has control of too. And the paralyzing thing is then the jelly, and there is also the master of the insane asylum, and that is the psychologist. That's what it is today. But well, and that is a spoonbill on a donkey. So uh, uh, that is the queen. Well, then in my story, I am. Then it looks like there is a queen ruling the world. Like there is a queen in England or something, and the Queen of England is then the queen of the world. That is what you could expect, but that is not true, because I believe there is an emperor, and I think the emperor is the peanut monkey. So the peanut and the queen and the peanut monkey, he is the emperor. Well, today you got a psychological peanut monkey, and that is all very confusing. So then it is like, then he is somehow the emperor, because he becomes then the international psychiatrist who has influence over somebody, and that is on official documents all over the world. But that is very confusing, because it is, if a monkey would do that, he will he will get problems, and that is what is going on too with Moon right now. But Moon is then saying, no, it is the peanut monkey who is the farmer, and that is the man who I think is the emperor. He is the man, and all farmers and all people from the land and everything they produce should be related to that peanut. And it is the devil who comes then with the money, and in the end it is the honey. But some say it is money, and so the peanut will be translated in money. But that is all somehow tricks of the devil. But even the emperor is not able to defeat this devil. If I would say to the emperor, well, we could also pay with peanuts, and then we could price everything in peanuts, how much peanuts, then someone will say, well, that is not what is going on. It's impossible to do it that way. And this calculation is money, and that is closer to honey and the bumble queen bee. So that is the devilish part. But as I say, even then the emperor, which the guy I consider the emperor, is in under the devil. So can you imagine then how much power this queen, which is not a queen but is the devil, has? So it is not possible for the peanut monkey emperor to defeat the devil. So now there I stop telling about how powerful she is, and that is of course on the land. Now we come to the rebels, the rebel part. And the rebel part, well, I already mentioned, of course, the astrologer, which is a scientist who is talking about the stars and will find problems selling his teachings and his way of thinking, because the bumble queen bee will not accept this truth. She prefers the Napoleon idea of names, and so people have names and can be registered on the bank and connected to codes, pin codes, and put in certain countries, etc., etc. But if you would organize the world as the astrologer would organize it, then she will have less power. That is, of course, the vision of the opponent, but she will say then it would become chaos. Then that will never work. So you see, the first opponent, then the diamond bell spider astrologer, will not succeed in defeating the queen, and he will also lose then the supermarket to the queen, because there's the manager of the supermarket, and that is Sea Dragon, which is well, that is, first there was a cathedral, and later it became the Palace of International Justice, but it all was going to that devilish queen of the bank and the Napoleon system and the money, and the cathedral and God became less and less believable, and even the international justice, who was justifying wars with God, became then less and less true, and so one could see the giraffe of these buildings, cathedral or international house of justice, palace. In the end it was just it just became a Baker Street, or a baker, and he was baking bread in that supermarket, which then was the Rhinoceros building. So he was baking bread inside the Rhinoceros supermarket. That is how it ended. And then there the Sea Dragon supermarket manager and the astrologer, they both lost it to the queen, though they somehow felt in the beginning then that well, the supermarket, at least the Sea Dragon, he felt like, well, the money is actually, I have the cash. People come all to me, and the moment that they have to give a birth and give their names is not the most important, but he will find out then the queen, the bumblebee queen, the devil, will win. And then I found out you will find yourself then maybe one day locked away in this insane asylum, and then you can go out and beg for bread in that supermarket, because that is something you can do yourself. It is not they won't serve your breakfast to your bed if you can walk yourself. And that is then the freedom. And then you feel, in the beginning, you feel like a goose. Then you are a beggar for bread, and your life is locked away somehow in this bumblebee queen world. But then you still got this rebel heart, and then you sit down on the water, and then you see, well, there is something that is still well, the waterworks. In the house there is the waterworks, and the money and the honey can also be counted by the water. So there was a hole, and that hole was also the sink. So we're talking about a prison cell now. So the 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 gender found himself free to go to the supermarket, but in his room it was not very different from the sinner or the criminal who was locked away in the cell and was given bread. The freedom was not very much more than the life of the prisoner. So, but he then was on the water, and he saw the sink and the waterworks, and then he came back to the pond turtle of the tarot cards, and that was then no longer the big tortoise, but it was a pond turtle in the sink. And of course his freedom was in the mobile, and the possibility to tell all these things I'm talking about, all these visions of him, which then is the fabulism, and that was the possibility he had. But it is obvious then that doing so, one could say then he is enlarging the power of the devilish queen, because this story will make the queen more powerful, because the old cathedral of giraffe and God is past. The International House of Justice is past. It is just a baker in the supermarket, and the sea dragon is past. The astrologer is past. So the story of the gender fabulist is only enlarging in the beginning then the power of the queen. And I remember those days, because then the queen had this tractor, and that was a beetle, and the gender found himself like a tutor on the hooter of that tractor, and the queen was driving the tractor, and she liked the gender telling all these things, because she became more and more powerful. So but then and of course there was still this possibility, if there were no limits, she could always turn or frame that experiment, the goose, and then she would become the killer bumblebee. So at that point it was only enlarging the power of the bumblebee queen. Well, and then things went wrong for the queen, because then there was the penguin. And the penguin, well, that is only recently, he is the one, together then with the sea star, so the sea star penguin, he is the one who will defeat the power of the bumblebee queen. Yes, and that's where we get now. Well, that is actually very simple, because he has the electric ray starship, the big sea star, the sunflower sea star, and those penguins, uh, they are divided, and they can work for the devil, but they can also turn to sea star, and then they become the engines of the starship electric ray. And that starship is faster than the jelly, the jelly ship of Insane Asylum, which is one of the important things the queen has to suppress and to have power. The jelly starship. So he has. So the goose found himself locked up like a prisoner. There was not much difference, and he was free to get bread. But that was actually a stupid thing, because the prisoners, they got served the bread. But the difference was the mobile, the oyster mobile, and that was still, and that's where we are now. That's still a thing that is very breakable, because it is the same thing as the door lock. The sea otter, fully aware of what the mobile can do, the oyster mobile can be to the goose, can of course break that oyster mobile, and then it is what the goose says. Then there is no freedom. Then he just worse than a prisoner, because then the only thing left is he can walk to the baker and get bread, where the other prisoners get served, and then he is as dead as the prisoners. But he didn't do anything. So what is then the difference between right and wrong, and don't do anything wrong? If your freedom is not rewarded. See, that is of course the problem. Well, but the oyster mobile was is still then a thing we're talking about right now, and it is in the starfish hand of the sea star. And this is an important thing, and this is what made the goose a sea star goose, because he knew he was a oyster mobile in the hand of a sea star. And that was the first defeat. The goose itself turned out Snowdrop, and that is also where the polar bear will end. The polar bear will follow the goose, and then will find out that the goose is Snowdrop, like he expected. So he didn't mind about the goose, because he knew the goose would fall down and was Snowdrop, and actually then food. The liver of the goose would be eaten by the polar bear. But he didn't know about the oyster mobile. But of course there is the sea otter, and there is the killer bumblebee queen, who can of course break into the oyster mobile, and they can hack the pin codes, and but that point is already past, because it is the starfish hand of the common sun star, but it is on a later level. It is in the hand of fastfabulist seastarpenguin, and that's where we come in now. So the penguin is divided, and he will choose for the big sea star. He knows everything about the goose. He knows not to fish. He knows not to do dope. He knows how to become then that fabulist and hold in the mobile. That's all things then the apprentice and this little empress in the story, as I started, is has to learn. And then actually the mobile eventually will play no role, because as I said it before, then it will turn out just an oyster. It's just then an oyster. And the eye of that mobile I'm using right now, that is the eye of the tarotist pond turtle in the pond snail house. And the microphone I'm using now is connected to the pond snail itself, which is the house but also the hearing. And well, now I'm recording this story, but at the same time when I'm doing this, then I know that I am in nature, and I am part of nature. And if the mobile tomorrow is taken away, or or broken or whatever, that doesn't mean the story I'm telling or the story I told, and if you know it, you heard about it, then that doesn't stop the story, of course. It's not that when the mobile is broken or taken away, or the pin codes are broken, the story will stop. No, when you know the story and the story is told, then you know that it is the fast fabulist sea star penguin who is faster than the jelly ship, and is the one who is, well, the captain of the starship Electric Ray, faster than the jelly ship. And so one could say he is thrown on the jelly, and he is also having the sea slugs, which he then calls the condom to those jelly. Well, and then we've got the complete story as he told it to his apprentice, because that's of course the thing I added today, that someone might ask himself, who are you talking to? To your works. Nobody is appreciating your works. Nobody is listening to you. To whom you're talking to. And that is of course now solved too, because it is the story of Moon and Mary. And Mary is the apprentice, imaginary daughter, whatever. She is then the one. The teachings of Moon are for. So that is another thing I had to add. Well, I don't think I've forgotten a thing, And this is well, the story perfect. Well, I think it is good enough, and I think one could call it the story perfect for now. But of course, maybe next year I will change it a little bit, or I will improve the way I tell it, or but all the most important elements are in the story, and it is not they gonna change. I used things in nature in the story, and that is not gonna change, and nature will not change. So the story is, well, is infinite, one could say, is a story which can be told for a long time. Well, infinite. And well, uh, I call it my job, and I appreciate the possibility. Today there is the Oyster Mobile, and I can just sit down here and tell the world about my fable, my story. And I believe, to me, there is nothing more giving satisfaction or happiness than doing this. Uh, so I am probably the most happy man in the world doing this right now. And I even foretold the possibility then the internet, the mobile, or whatever. It can tomorrow. It can be broken. It can be. They can fluke it up, make the system hacked, whatever, because then they know it will be used by. It is all serving me, and then they know this story becomes bigger and bigger, and then they might say, well, stop this internet, because then it all comes down to him. Well, I'm not afraid that will happen, because I don't believe people will uh, start following me massively. Actually, nobody believes my stories or likes my stories, so this probably will not happen. But it could be, and then it is good to know that, well, to the story, that doesn't mean that much. And that was, for me, also an interesting, it helped me, internet helped me to create this story, but now I come to a level that internet itself is not a necessary thing. So if it would be shut down or broken, I would miss it. I would miss it, of course. It is my life. It's so. And if you like to tell stories and you can do it this way, well, it's obvious. Then it is perfect this way. But I would miss it. I would miss it. But it is not. Uh, Everything would stop. No. Then I will write down with a pen, or I tell people. But it is, of course, if you can tell the story one time and record it, that's much easier than tell the story to one person, and then now you can tell the story and everybody can well, simply go there and listen. Okay? I need a little cup of tea now. But everything told, I'm satisfied with it, and I hope you enjoyed this story.